I want to take a look at something that's been kind of bugging me with my Savi's Workshop build, and it's a problem that a lot of people have with their Savi's Workshop builds. And it's some of the scrap is a little loose, and if you tighten it too far, it doesn't line up anymore. So like maybe you want these on the sides or in the front and back, or maybe you want this oriented so it lines up straight, but there's just a little play here. See that? See how it's turning there? The same with the top one. And if you're wielding this, and if you grab it from the top here or the bottom here, it's going to twist a little bit in your hands while you're wielding it because it's not on completely tight, because you want this thing to be lined up. If you turn it on or tighten it until it's tight, that's about as far as I want to go before I worry about possibly stripping what little thread there is here. So how do we fix that? Well, the method that I've seen talked about on the Galaxy's Edge Discord server is to use these. They're washers meant for kitchen plumbing, and these in particular are from Lowe's. There is your part number. Here's what they look like. A pack of 2 of these washers, these 1.5-inch washers, costs under $3. And I am now going to try to solve my problem using these 1.5-inch washers. And these particular washers aren't necessarily the only ones that you can use. There are many 1.5-inch washers out there of different shapes and sizes, and probably different brands from different companies. You can try whichever ones you think will work. So in this case, I've taken the emitter piece of scrap off, and I'm just going to try and get this washer down around the top here, like so. What's nice about these washers is they're tapered. So as you screw the emitter back on, it's going to push down a little bit more and more on the washer. But other people I've seen use flat washers or round washers, and they still work. So I don't think it has to be a tapered washer, but these seem to work really well. I want to position this where I want these pins here to align. That looks pretty good, and I'm just going to screw this back on. And do I want these to align on the sides with this, or do I want to twist it a little further? It turns out I can go either way I want, because that is actually really snug now. And if I turn it back a half turn, remember we have that washer, that's pressure from this being tightened is pushing down on this piece, holding it in place. It's still pretty tight, even with the emitter piece not fully screwed on. So I could leave it like that, or we could go one more half turn. Get everything lined up like that. That feels really tight. It's not moving around on me anymore. It doesn't want to twist when I'm holding it. That looks and feels really good. So let's try the same procedure with the pommel. I don't know if there's any trick to getting these on. I'm just using sort of my fingernails to dig under the top of the washer and pull it away from the chassis so I have some room here. There we go. There's the washer in place. Put the pommel back on. And I think I want the, what is that? The D-ring on the back side. I'm about where it is, actually. Do I keep turning? Do I have one more half turn out of this? Ooh, it's tight, but it's there. And now that bottom piece has no play in it at all. This has a hole. I can torque on the top and bottom pieces of scrap here, and there is no play. That feels much more solid than it did before I put the washers on. And let's say I want to adjust this piece a little bit. Maybe I want these pins sticking out the side. Well, I'm going to loosen the emitter. Like that. I can unscrew this, I should say. About there. Screw this back down. But now I can't screw the top half, or the emitter piece, I should say, all the way, because this piece is now upwards a little bit because I've unscrewed it a little bit. But I can still get it to align itself in a way that looks pretty good. I'd still be okay with that. But if I want it all the way in, unscrew or loosen the emitter, screw this back in, screw the emitter down, and that is holding it in place. That's thanks to the pressure. The emitter pushing down on the washer, which is pushing down on this top piece of scrap, which is holding everything in place. The same with the bottom here. Screwing this in is pushing the washer down on this, holding this piece in place. And now I have a very sturdy Savi's hilt that does not have any scrap that wants to move around in my hand while I'm using it. Now, not everybody is going to have this problem with the loose pieces, or maybe the thing's not lining up quite right. There are plenty of people who've had Savi's Workshop builds where everything screws nice and tight and everything's lined up perfectly. Some people don't. I'm sort of in the middle, or I can get things lined up without the washers and it's fairly tight, but this feels much better now, and I'm really happy with how that went. So that is how you can fix alignment and loose scrap pieces using $3 worth of washer from your local hardware store. And remember, you don't have to get necessarily this exact brand or kind. Just as long as the washer is a 1.5 inch in diameter washer, you should be good. And you'll need two, one for the top, one for the top, and one for the bottom. There you go.